Hi everybody, welcome to Trending Topics. Let's see the numbers start to roll in. Can you hear me okay? Let's see here. Do I have anybody yet? Once we get some folks, if you could let me know if you can hear me okay. Hi Lindsay. Can you guys hear me okay? Good evening, everyone. Let's see here. Oh, perfect, great. Yeah, it's like I got this new phone. I got this iPhone 7 Plus, and I used to have this bad old phone that I've dropped a million times, and so the sound wasn't very good, and now this phone is like super perfect quality. So fortunately, the video, audio, everything is better, so that's good. Welcome everybody. My name is Zach Haller. Welcome to Trending Topics here on Real Progressives, and I am going to share this a little bit more, try and expand the audience a little bit. You guys should also share it. Tell me where you're from, and in the comments, and we'll get started in a minute or two here. How do I share this to? Share to a page. I'm getting this all figured out as I make my foray into indie media. I smoked the most like half-assed joint I've ever rolled in my entire life before this. It was like half a joint. I just was really desperate and only had rolling papers, and I hate rolling joints. I have really fat fingers, so it's not easy. But I did it. I got it done. Don't worry. It's fine. Like, I accomplished it. Like, I didn't give up. It was just like a really ugly joint, so I couldn't like take a picture of it. This is the cool label that I got tonight. I don't know where this is from. I should have looked to see, make sure it's local, and I'm not doing some Illuminati product placement with this. So yeah, get your drink ready. So I'm gonna get started now that we've got a good number of people here. Thanks for joining. My name is Zach Haller. Welcome to Trending Topics on Real Progressives here. I am excited to talk with a little bit more peace in my body than the last time I did a live last week for you guys on the DNC fraud lawsuit. So as many of you know, there were these big hearings last week on the DNC fraud lawsuit. Cheers, everybody. Drink something to us finally getting to take steps towards justice for the rigged primary. Oh my god, I needed this so bad. So yeah, cheers, everybody. Tell me where you're from. What's up? So last week, as you may know, and I should let me put the URL to my article in the comments here, so in case you want to pull it up while we're reading, feel free. So I wrote an article. So last week, on Tuesday, there were oral arguments that were heard in the DNC fraud lawsuit. So basically, to give you the real quick background, last summer, there was a lawsuit filed. That's a class action lawsuit that was filed against the DNC and W. Wasserman Schultz after a bunch of leaked emails came out in June exposing that all the behind-the-scenes collusion was happening between the DNC, Hillary Clinton's campaign, media, and all these other entities. So a class action lawsuit was filed against the DNC, and finally now are we actually seeing some action on it. There was an initial motion to dismiss filed by the DNC that was struck down, and now we're at a second motion to dismiss, and basically this one had oral arguments. The previous one was an evidentiary hearing, so there weren't oral arguments, but this time the DNC now, for the first time, their counsel has spoken on the record and basically told us what the DNC's, hi Karen, hi Shane, hi Robin, good to see you guys on there, thanks for all the likes. So basically what happened in this hearing is we got to see what the DNC is saying about the rigged primary and how they're defending what they did. And obviously it's not public knowledge that the DNC rigged the primary, and that's kind of a loose term that we've been using for a long time because the system in itself is rigged, big picture wise, the government, and the primary itself obviously was done in a way that favored a certain candidate, which is a certain problem. And so we're starting to unravel all of that. And last week and this, it sucks, as much of a horrible situation it is that we're dealing with this. It's really been fascinating to see it playing out in real time. Last week, Wednesday night, was it Wednesday? Yeah, because the transcripts weren't out Thursday. That's right. Wednesday night last week, Jared Beck, the attorney who's arguing the case in court against the DNC, spoke with Mike Sinato here on Real Progressives, and if you haven't watched that interview, it's a must watch. It blows your mind, and it's cool seeing that and then knowing where we are now. Basically, this was Jared first telling us what the DNC was saying in court, and he was saying these really, really humiliating things. Like, the DNC was saying that they could favor a candidate, but they didn't. All these incriminating things. And so, finally, the transcripts came out Friday, and when they came out, I just went immediately into WikiLeaks mode. Some of you were following me last year going into the election. That's when I kind of got some Twitter attention, because as the Podesta emails were coming out, I was reading them, analyzing them, and so I went back into my, oh my god, I have to read this as fast as possible and tweet about it as fast as possible to get this information out as fast as possible mode. And it was so overwhelming how much damning information came out. I couldn't believe what I was reading. And Jared had said all this in the interview, but we were waiting for the transcripts to really see what was being said. And Jared was very cautious in the interview with Sinato, which was good, and it was smart that he was cautious. He was just like, I don't want to say too much. We have to wait for the transcripts. And boy, was that an understatement. The transcripts are so unbelievably damning. It's really, most people are not paying attention to it, and it's crazy because this is literally Obama just finished 8 years in office, ruling the free world as the leader of the Democratic Party and America. This political party that just left Obama, that just failed, that Hillary Clinton just failed, this political party is getting sued in a federal court on behalf of Bernie Sanders and these millions and millions and millions of people that voted for him. Millions of dollars that were contributed, and no one's reporting on it. It's insane. And as I was reading it, I was getting so physically anxious. I was like, I want to be talking about this. I want to be writing about this. It's a very serious subject, because the guy who originally served the lawsuit, Sean Lucas, wasn't killed. That's what I think in my head. He mysteriously died. He suicided himself right after the lawsuit was served. And it's rest in peace, Sean. And seriously, thank you to him and to Seth Rich and to all of the people, Berta Cáceres, and all of the people who have lost their lives fighting for democracy, because this is what happens, is confronting authority. You're up against the most powerful people that don't give a fuck. They are literally the types of people to say, oh, invade Libya, we'll figure it out later. Oh, assassinate Seth Rich, we'll figure it out later. They literally just do the bad thing and figure it out later after people are dead. And the people who are fighting to get this lawsuit heard, it's like, I was saying this last week, is the more people that are talking about it, the less taboo it is. And so more of us should be doing it. And Jared is an all-star. His wife, Elizabeth, who's also working on the lawsuit. They're American heroes. So many of these people that are working on this and that are trying to get it to the front really deserve as much support as you can possibly give them, because this is basically the most incriminating, humiliating expose that could ever happen to the Democratic Party. And obviously it's right after Obama's finished his term, Hillary Clinton lost. This is what the whole world is focused on, is this coming to pass. And because okay, so I'll get to the mainstream media part in a second, but just to run over the things that were revealed in the transcripts. My article itemizes 7 of them, and I was working on it all weekend, and some of you may have joined me on Saturday for Steve's Real Progressives. Yeah, Tim Black's interview with Jared Beck was awesome. It was so good. Yeah, definitely. Basically, just watch every single thing that Jared Beck has done, because it's just amazing to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. He's such an outstanding person and lawyer. It is so just wonderful to hear how intelligent and well presented he is, how fair and respectful his we couldn't ask for better people arguing this, and I trust Jared, and we're so lucky that we have a really smart lawyer, because it's really hard to find lawyers who are arguing class actions. And I just can't say enough how impressed and grateful I am that he's arguing this. And we all are supporting him. It's a really cool to see the whole progressive community on the internet supporting him, but we all need to, and especially because the mainstream media isn't covering it, we need to even be more diligent about reporting on it and talking about it with our friends and family. And so last Saturday, I took Steve's slot in the evening to talk about these revelations, and at that time I only had read them for about 24 hours, and I was just on information overload. I was so anxious to start reporting on this stuff because it's really just completely exposing the Democrats for being basically a fraudulent organization. And we'll see how the lawsuit plays out, but basically since 2012 and going into the 2016 election, where Hillary Clinton was coronated as the primary nominee for the Democratic Party, it's basically fraud. Whether their argument in court was it could have been fraud if we wanted it to be, but it wasn't. That's literally the gist of what they said, is we could have favored a candidate, we could have rigged the primary, but we didn't. And they don't have any problem with saying we could have rigged the primary and there would have been no legal ramification for it. It's insane that they're fine with saying that on record to a judge, with the American people listening. They are totally fine with saying that. It blows my mind. But to backtrack, the first thing that I think, the first of my 7 points that I point out is that in a bizarre display, the Democrats' lawyer right off the bat tells the judge that, oh, judge, you can't actually do your job as a judge because the Democrats, we're above the law. I know Hillary's above the law, I know Barack's above the law, Debbie's above the law, we're all above the law. So, Judge, why are we even here? Why are we here? The Democrats are above the law. We can do what we want. We don't even need to be here just to prove the motion to dismiss. We don't even need to be here. Literally, they're too big to jail, too big to fail. This literally just was the first thing they said to the court, was like, oh, court, we're the Democrats. We're too big to jail. Like, the court can't decide this. This is a party thing. And it just blows your mind that they literally presented that as a legal argument as to support the motion to dismiss. As they basically said, we're too big to fail, we're too big to jail. You can't decide because we can do whatever we want. And the court, obviously, the justice system, the judiciary branch, this is such basics, the government basics. The judicial branch operates separately from the legislative and the executive branches because it is critical that that branch of government is separate from those because of the political discussions and disputes that arise in those two branches. They need to be addressed independently. That's legitimately the one job of the court. And the Democrats' argument literally was to come and tell the court, you actually can't do your one job because we're above the law. It's flabbergasting, if that's a word. I was flabbergasted to see that was their argument right out the gate. And it got worse. It just downward spiral the entire time. It's just insane. So after they told the court that the court shouldn't do their one job, their argument started to unravel that this concept of impartiality can't ever really be enforced. And they see themselves as having no legal accountability whatsoever for whatever they do. So that's just kind of assumed in the background. They don't even tell the judge, we're curious to find out, judge, if you think that we have any legal accountability. Oh, we don't know. What do you think, judge? They literally didn't even ask the judge. It's just taken by assumption that the Democrats know that the judge can't rule on us. So whatever. That assumed, we'll just let you know that because you can't rule on us because there's no legal ramifications that can apply to us based on our charter, because our charter is just a political promise. So you can't rule on us, but also we can't be ruled upon because there's no legal consequences for whatever we do, because it's just political affairs. It's just a political party. It's just this weird circular argument that doesn't make sense on either side, and they basically just say that they have the right to be biased if they want to, and don't have any concept of the implications of that position. It's insane. And so they say that they say the judge can't tell them what to do. They say that they're completely above the law. There's no legal repercussions that could come of whatever they decide to do. So they could have favored a candidate because that was in their right, because they couldn't be, there's no legal accountability for that. And then it goes on to say that impartial can't be defined. And so those are your kind of first three steps where you're already in like a brain melt because it's like so much contradictory information. But here's the real mindfuck. Here's the real like hilarious thing where they don't even recognize their own. Sorry, I've got my beard comb right here. I keep like waving it around like, oh, I'm going to tell you this story with a beard comb and a beer, which one is more helpful than the other, but I'll just use this as like a diagram. So they say that impartial can't be defined. But, okay, so they say three things about impartial, and I was trying to write this last night, because I'm working on this piece, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how to fucking word this, because it's so confusing, because they contradicted themselves in so many ways. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain it. So there's three concepts of the term impartial that they put forward to the judge. The first thing that they said was, Judge, you can't rule upon the phrase impartial in our charter, because that term can't be defined. So the first thing that they say is the term can't be defined. So write that down. Remember, the first thing they said is the term impartial cannot be defined. Okay. So knowing that, the second thing they say is there's no way to define what impartial... Oh, I just said that. Impartial can't be defined. Because impartial can't be defined, it's just a political promise, and we have no guarantee that we will ever be impartial. Okay, so we have our first concept is impartial can't be defined. Second concept is because it can't be defined, we don't have to even try to be it. And then the third thing was, despite the fact that we can't define it, we were absolutely impartial. You can't be, there's no such thing as guaranteeing impartiality, so we don't need to be impartial, but we were, in fact, impartial, even though we just said you can't define what that means. Whatever it means, you just decide what it means, and we were that for 2016, because we didn't commit any crime. But if we wanted to, we could have. It's like, it's seriously like your brain just starts melting. And it's literally, they can contradict themselves in so many ways. So it's like the judge literally in like 2 seconds they could say, oh, judge, look, there's no way to define what impartial means. They say, well, were you impartial? Like, oh yeah, we were impartial. Well, you just defined it. It's like they literally, it's like the Clintonian doublespeak where they say everything possible, hoping one thing sticks and hoping you'll just forget what they just said and like that'll erase from your memory. But this is the court. You can't just say, oh, I arrived under sniper fire and not have any legal consequences. Like, if you're lying in connection with defrauding someone of their money and you're in court because someone has standing to sue you, it actually matters if you lie, number one. It matters even more if you lie on oath to a judge. And number three, there's implications to lying. And this is the other thing that I'm having trouble fleshing out in the second piece, is trying to explain how... Okay, so here's basically what the Democrats' lawyers said. The Democrats' lawyers said to the judge, look, judge, it's just a political promise. We can't guarantee it. We can't guarantee that we're going to be impartial because that's a political promise. So they're telling the judge, look, judge, we can't be held to our word. We're just saying things, but we're a party. It's just political affairs. We can't be, we're trying to be honest, but you can't hold us to being honest. Like, they're literally telling a judge, I am a dishonest person. We do dishonest things, and we don't mind that, and we're so stupid we don't even realize we're telling a judge that we're liars and you shouldn't trust us as we are talking to a judge. They're literally telling the judge that they don't deserve trust. They're literally telling the judge that we feel totally fine defrauding people. We don't feel any legal obligation to defraud people. And because we feel comfortable defrauding people, we can make whatever promise we want. We can bullshit people however we want with no legal ramification. They are literally treating the judge just like they treat the voters and saying, we don't even give a shit what you think, judge. No matter what you think, we can't ever guarantee anything that we say to you is a promise. And so it completely undermines their entire trust with the judge. Judges try to determine the level of sincerity and trustworthiness of people who are testifying in front of them, because there's a thing called perjury. They can figure out if you're lying, and if you're lying, that's a bad sign, and it compounds the damages because you're trying to cover up from the crime, because it means you know you committed a crime and you don't want to admit it because you're lying to hide it. It's so crazy. They don't even get it. They don't realize how incriminating they are. They're literally telling the judge, judge. We make political promises all the time. Give us your money anyway. We're not going to be held to it. You should have known that. Judge, like, we're telling the truth, but the truth doesn't mean anything. Like, it can be anything, Judge. Like, it's a really, really bizarre place, because I cannot imagine. I mean, I work in the legal industry. Anyone who works in the court, and anyone who works with courts, you don't think about a judge and say, you think we can get anything by this judge? You don't really think that. Typically, you can't get anything by any judges in general. If you have, there's different, obviously, levels of courts. So depending on what your situation is, you may be at a higher, low level. Not saying judges aren't compromised, judges don't have their own politics, no question. But if you go on the record saying something, it kind of falls, depending on how much sway, I guess, the judge has, if they really want to pardon someone, whatever. But there are law clerks looking at this, the court reporters. I mean, this is publicized information. Once it goes on the record in the court, it's kind of stuck there. And they have said so many damning things, including, we don't keep our promises and we're cool with that, that I can't possibly imagine how the judge could not just say, all right, look, the Democrats just walked into court saying this motion should be dismissed because we lie to people and we tell them promises and we take their money, and we shouldn't feel accountable for that because our promises mean nothing. Literally, the judge could say, oh, so do you promise that you ran the primary fairly? Like, yeah, of course we promise we ran the primary and fairly. And then the judge is like, but you just said that you don't honor your promises. This is like teaching a 4-year-old the difference between a truth and a lie, and like how to like, it's like kind of a red flag if you lie. Most of the time people can like figure it out if you lied, and it's like gonna show that you lied, and then you're in worse shit than if you just said what was going on. So I really don't know how the Democrats expect to get themselves out of this. And I've never like thought, I want the Democratic Party to fail because of how corrupt they've become. The Republican Party, money needs to get out of politics. So every political entity that's running on special interest money is doing a disservice to the voters. And obviously, they wouldn't even be putting money into the political process if they didn't know that what they were doing was contrary to the interests of the voters. That's the other catch-22 of all money going into politics. It's like, oh, but that money is supporting what the voters want. It's like, if the money is supporting what the voters want, why do you have to give the candidate money? Why don't, just let the voters vote for the candidate? Like, they're obviously putting money into politicians to sway them in a certain way. And so all of that needs to go. Republicans are trash. But the Democrats have been ruling for the past 8 years, so they've got more shit that we have to call them out for and account for. So we have to kind of focus on them. And I don't want the party, if we can completely start from the ground up and remake the party with Bernie and Nina and Shama Sawant and Tulsi and all of the real legitimate progressives, then that'd be great. If they clear the halls of the Democratic Party, I don't know that will happen, so God knows how we're going to figure out our own third party, but I don't know how the Democrats can actually save their party, because so here we go. We have two situations that can be the outcome of the DNC fraud lawsuit. The first situation, and I'll go with the easier one first. The first is the judge could say, no, we're not dismissing this lawsuit, we're going to proceed. And if they strike down the motion to dismiss and the lawsuit proceeds, then what happens is the lawsuit takes a few steps moving forward. And one of those steps is it has to determine the classes of people who are claiming damages. And then we get to start lining up people to interview as part of the evidence collection process. That phase is called discovery. And so establishing the class is a little bit different, where that's where Jared and the attorneys would basically reach out to everyone and say to everyone, oh, hey, if you've been defrauded by the Democratic Party, tell us your name. And that's where we start to collect all the people who are eligible for those classes. So at that point, some damage has been incurred, and we're measuring how much. So at that point, the floodgate is open, the Pandora's box is open. Anyone can be called for a deposition, and at that point, the Democratic Party is just going to be like rats off a sinking ship. Where can people go? It's going to be really fascinating to see how the rats flee, because they will have to leave the party as fast as they can, and there'll be basically nowhere for them to go. So that's the scenario that would happen if the motion to dismiss, which I think is more likely. I don't think the judge is going to strike it all down and say, never mind, everything's cool. I would be very shocked if that happens. And if it doesn't happen, then it's moving forward and shit's going to just absolutely hit the fan at that point. It's insane to think about what will happen once depositions start being ordered. Bernie, Tulsi, Hillary, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, all of the mainstream media goons who we found at political, it's like all of the mainstream media people who were helping Hillary, all of the Democrats who were saying, vote for Hillary, everyone can be deposition, like everyone can be the subject of a deposition and be under oath. And that's an absolutely insane concept that we would be like, okay, down in court today is Debbie Wasserman, and we're going to grill her for 6 hours, just her, talk to her about every single decision that she made for the past 10 years. Put Donna Brazile under oath, put Hillary Clinton under oath, put Loretta Lynch under oath, put Comey under oath, put Bernie under oath, put Jane under oath, ask Jane Sanders, so did the Clintons blackmail you guys? Because I'm curious to know that, and it'd be great if we could put Jane under oath and get some content from her versus what Bernie says. I mean, there are so many people that could provide such damning information. I mean, it exists, obviously it's out there. So the deposition process will be an absolute mind fuck when that happens. Because I expect it to happen. I mean, so the other option is the Democrats succeed, they win in getting their motion to dismiss granted, and at that point, if that happens, so if the judge strikes down the, if the judge strikes down the lawsuit by approving the motion to dismiss, so if the judge dismisses the lawsuit, the Democrats are, like, fucked even sooner because, oh my gosh, so here's what happens. So imagine the court says, okay, yeah, you're right, Democrats, for all of the flaws in this argument, for all of the lying that happened here, because you said one thing and the other at the same time, so you can tell me which one is a lie. Either way, one was a lie, and you're in court under oath, so bad idea. If the judge pardons all of that and says, okay, I agree with the Democrats, this is a frivolous lawsuit, basically there's no merits to any of these classes, they don't deserve any damages whatsoever, everything that the Democrats did was totally legal and above board. If that happens, then the whole world has confirmation that the Democrats succeeded in completely destroying the Democratic Party, literally turning the Democratic Party into an Orwellian term. It already is, right? Democratic Party, the party of superdelegates. Like, they would officially, if they pass this motion, they will officially have succeeded in making the party the anti-grassroots party. That I literally wrote an article about this a couple weeks ago that says, Debbie, actually, the Democratic Party is anti-grassroots. The Democratic Party, they try to be the party of the grassroots, but look what happens. Basically, in every election, the grassroots party is going to win. Trump ended up being the grassroots party in this election because the Democrats legitimately subverted and blocked and bullied and abused and, like, fucked over the grassroots. So the real grassroots all stayed home for the most part, right, in the election. And so the more active grassroots was Trump's grassroots. And so those people, that Trump won. And the Democrats think they're grassroots, and they're not. And if they succeed at this motion to dismiss, they will have officially proven to the world that that was their intent the entire time, was to become a party that was only beholden to the corporate interests, only beholden to the party, and by no means ever was even intending to even consider the voters and what they want. It's insane. And you kind of can't even get to that point because basically so what the Democrats have presented here in this court case is that it's really a mindfuck to think about. The Democrats are basically saying that we don't see the party as needing voters in any way. They said that. And that's literally what they're going to court saying, is that we don't want the voters to have any say in what we're doing. They should have known that. So if they are, if it's confirmed, or the idea that they're presenting with the fact that they could favor a candidate and the way that they are presenting it, it basically says that every one of those 50 states, every single state that you voted in a primary, if you voted in a Democratic primary, that was fraud. That was bullshit. We were just faking you out. We just wanted you to think that it was a real democracy. We could pick our own candidate. We did before you even started. That's literally what they're saying. It blows my fucking mind. They literally went to the court and said if we wanted to fake it and just hold all the primary contests in 50 states and all of those people and all of those public funds and all of those public officials and all those people participating, it was all a show. Literally, that's what they're telling the judge, is that it could have all just been a show and there would have been no legal ramification. They don't even understand that public funds are used for this, that public employees put their time into it. We are all, like, our tax money, whether Democrats like it or not, realize it or not, our tax money gets put toward our local governments operating, and that means elections. Hello, the ballot boxes don't pay for themselves. Like, come on. It's so insane how much it looks like the Democrats just don't know about the way the government operates in this lawsuit, that it can only be one of two things. One, they're deliberately avoiding talking about stuff because they don't want to incriminate themselves, which is some of it, but the other part of it is they just must not know. And it's crazy because these are such wealthy people. You'd think they'd be able to afford the absolute smartest corrupt lawyers that are out there. This literally should be the smartest, most corrupt lawyers that are out there. And they got clowns. They literally got idiots arguing for them. This guy can't even thread a continuous message to the entire argument. With all the time that an attorney takes to prepare, this dumbass didn't even find one consistent message to tie through the entire lawsuit. You can't even, there's no takeaway. The only takeaways from the lawsuit are kind of this mishmash of the court can't decide because we're the party and we can decide whatever we want. Because the court can't decide, there's no legal ramification, and so we can do whatever we want. And just by the way, we didn't rig the primary. That's literally the takeaway that the Democrats wanted you to have. And they couldn't, there is so much money. They couldn't pay some smart people to figure out how to make the argument. So it shocks me. And something that people probably don't know about me, because I guess I've never told it on a live stream, but my friends know this. So, hold on. So one thing I don't really like about live streaming is when I want to drink, I have to stop talking. But, hold on, let me get caught up a little bit. Drink also, when I'm drinking, you drinking, and then that makes me feel not guilty for being quiet for a second. I have my Bernie Angel here. I should just have him hanging over me. My Bernie Angel. I don't go anywhere without him. Anyway, sorry. I don't have any other toys. I'll wear this. I'm just gonna wear this. I'm so patriotic. Party. So, I'm going to drink again real quick. I was going to talk about this lawsuit a little bit more. Let's see here. What was I talking about? Can somebody type? What was I just saying? Okay, so Democrats screwed themselves over. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. I'm working on this piece about the fallout. The mainstream media. Okay, so let's talk about the mainstream. I know, right? I'll just hold him here. I'm just going to hold him here. I'm trying to get my friend Catherine, who made these, to put them on Etsy. I mean, I know that it's kind of a Christian icon, and he's Jewish. Oh, he's an atheist. But anyway, this is my Bernie Angel, and my good friend Catherine, whom I spent election night with, this is my Christmas card last year that she made me, and when I got to work the day before holiday break, I'm an atheist, so Christmas. When I got to work the day before Christmas break, this was hanging over my desk, so I got into work and I walked in and there was the Bernie Angel hanging over me, and so I left it there, and I don't work at that company anymore, but she left me this as my holiday card, and it's the most amazing thing ever, and so I made a bunch of them for the tops of people's trees. And I'm going to try and get them on Etsy at some point because they're legit and you should have one. But let me talk about the mainstream media a little bit real quick before I drag Hillary, because we got to drag Hillary again. So the mainstream media is completely implicated in the DNC lawsuit. So we need to, and everybody's been awesome about sharing this, but we need to really, really, really aggressively share this information amongst ourselves on social media, address our superdelegates in every state, challenge them on this information. I mean, basically every superdelegate is incriminated. We could literally and I'm making a list. So I'm doing an article about the fallout, and then I'm also doing a list about all the people that we can depose, because we can literally depose every single superdelegate that voted for Hillary. Jared Beck can say, when were you committed to Hillary? At what point? What influenced that? And we can just ask a million questions, and it's just like the ramifications are insane. But yeah, so we're gonna basically queue up every single superdelegate, because obviously the people who are like, yeah, I'm cool with being a superdelegate, are obviously like, yeah, I'm cool with being part of a crooked system and putting my money in ahead of time so I can do some insider trading in the meantime. Like, the shit that is going to be exposed by this lawsuit is really, really, really unbelievable. So we as citizens need to be pushing this information and these transcripts to all of our superdelegates, all of our elected officials, every single Democrat, and force them to opine on it. Force them to point it out to them and say, do you think it's cool that Democrats' lawyers said that they can rig that they can favor a candidate if they want, or no? Force people to decide. It makes it really easy to move them out of your life if they support the corruption. Like, some of the people, so don't take soft stance on this. Like, don't take a soft stance on this. This is fraud. The amount of fraud that occurred here is mind-blowing. A primary was rigged before the primary took place. Money was solicited after they knew that it was never going to happen. There are Podesta emails that show that basically Bernie was aware midway through that he was never going to win. This was completely unethical in every possible way. The media is not going to be saying that, and establishment Democrats, especially ones that stuck up for Hillary Clinton, are not going to say it. They're going to try and gloss it over, just like the Young Turks on their little thing. It's like, oh, it's just legalese. Oh, it's just, Of course the Democrats are corrupt. I mean, it's fine. Literally call that bullshit out. It's like that pardoning of breaking the law is exactly what is wrong with our entire corrupt criminal justice system. And it's a criminal justice system issue. Everyone who's passionate about the criminal justice system operating correctly, which obviously spans from Black Lives Matter all the way up to white collar crime impunity, everyone that is concerned about the criminal justice system and the reform that it needs to be taking the Democratic Party's fraud lawsuit very, very seriously. This could be our first breaking point where we actually get to enforce some white-collar crime that was completely overlooked by Obama for all of those years. Obviously, we've got a lot more Republicans in office now. Unfortunately, it's like, I'm used to thinking Republicans bad, but that's obviously on its head now. And so we're going to be able to win a lot more, even small suits against local corruption against Democrats that have been involved in this. So take this very seriously. I know the transcripts don't seem like fun required reading, but grab them, look them over. I mean, Jared Beck's arguments are seriously some of the most amazing things that I've ever read. These are all of the feelings that we've had this entire year while we were disenfranchised. The fact that our primary votes were stolen from us is not a small deal. And it's so frustrating to me when people tell me, Zach, come on, you should have just voted for Hillary. Come on. I'm like, how can you just sit there and be like, Zach, get over the fact that someone blew off your primary vote. Get over the fact that I know you put in all that volunteer time. I know you gave all that money. I know that you really love Bernie, but Zach, just vote for Hillary. It's like, I cannot believe that so many people are so fucking cool just being like, oh, I don't give a shit about your primary vote. I care about your general election vote. Like, if somebody came to me and was like, Zach, look, on the Republican side, if a Republican said, look, Zach, the Republicans rigged their primary. I voted for so-and-so, and then look, it was so-and-so who is I would, it's easier for Republicans to understand what's going on. And that's part of the reason why all the indies are moving away from the Democrats like rats off a sinking ship, is because you can look at it with a clear vision. But it's like, this disenfranchising a primary vote is, basically one of the cardinal sins. Obviously violence and killing people is the worst thing you can do to someone's life. But from a civic perspective, disenfranchising someone is basically the worst thing that you can do. And primary process, disenfranchising someone's primary vote is basically cutting off their voice before they even could speak to begin with. And that's fucked up. So, I don't know what the rules are for the swear words here, and I swear a lot, so hopefully they're not getting bleeped out. I guess they probably can't be, but it's really fucked up that so many people were like, oh, I don't really care about your primary vote. I just care about your general election vote. No, the gaslighting. That's literally exactly what it is. The gaslighting needs to stop. this Young Turks panel where all these guys just sitting there like unprepared. Like some of them have apologized for it. I don't even care. This is such a serious topic. You need to take it seriously and learn your shit before you go out and comment on it, because it's very complicated law and it's very easy to water it down. And that's exactly what the Democrats want to happen right now, is they want to water it down. So you know what I've got to say? There are 7 fucking reasons that you can't water this shit down, Democrats. Like, this is exactly how the Clinton Foundation operation happens. They make it so big that it's like, oh, there's no possible way this could be corrupt. It's such a big operation. Oh, the Democrats, it's such a big organization. There's no possible way they could be corrupt, Zach. Like, there's no possible way. It's like, actually, let me count the ways. I know that the more corrupt it is, the harder it is for you to parse out all the drama, but don't worry, we got smart people that are ready to do it. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7 points you can fuck a bitch up with that's trying to tell you that it's no big deal that the Democrats rigged a primary. Literally, there's no way to explain yourself through all of these different points, and any like asshole that's trying to tell you that your primary vote doesn't matter. I mean, I can't. My whole life totally understand how discouraging it is to vote. Politicians in general suck. That's why I've loved Bernie since forever. So I found him when I was really young because I hated everybody really early on. Yeah, it sucks, but you have, like, in my opinion, you have to vote. You have to at least try. It's not that often that we ask you to go to the polling place. Just do it. Go and vote. If you vote, I don't even care who you vote for. I mean, I obviously would hope that you vote for the most progressive person because that's my personal politics. But the point of our democracy is that you have the right to vote. Go use it. Even if what you vote for may or may not be the best thing to everybody's view. If everybody goes and votes, at least we know that the majority decided that they think that that's best for us. And we have the courts to back us up if something unconstitutional happens. But that's the whole point of a democracy, is to be able to say, look, we have to table some issues to the whole population of our state or our city, because it's hard to say what's best for us right now. We need to vote. Voting is so important that if anyone is sitting here telling you that your primary vote didn't matter, that's bullshit. And you may not be able to get through to that person to tell them that the view they're espousing is bullshit, but and that's something that I gave up on, is trying to change people's minds. It's like, if you don't see the problem with what the Democrats have done, I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain it to you, because it is that grave and that huge that you should be able to draw these conclusions yourself and reject what mainstream media is telling you. Because at this point, it's so obvious that the mainstream media is literally just operating for the people who are paying for the commercials in between, and those people are all paying the big companies to deregulate whatever industries that they want to go buck wild in. So it's basically like cats out of the bag at this point. It's really actually, I do kind of feel like it's cool in some way to be witnessing the unraveling of the two-party system, because the Democrats are in shambles, the Republicans are in shambles. Yeah, more Republicans got elected, but everything is a hot-ass mess. And it's good for us because all of the people can get together behind nonpartisan goals and move forward and elect people's candidates that say, fuck you Democrats, fuck you Republicans, just like Bernie did the entire time. It's totally doable, and that's something that's so inspiring to me about Bernie Sanders' message and his whole history. Was not only did he win all of his elections, he won against a Democrat and he won against a Republican, because the vast majority of Americans have common sense, and they can tell bullshit when they see it in blue, they can tell bullshit when they see it in red, and they're going to take the other option when they have it. It's crazy. So don't let people get soft on this lawsuit. And even if people voted for Hillary Clinton and wanted her to win, whatever, don't let them say that this isn't a big deal. And ask them, especially if they're competent, if they're proud to have voted for Hillary Clinton, they think that she should have still been president, whatever. She's always trying to say that she's so smart, so qualified. How would you rule on this as a judge? How would you rule on the motion to dismiss? Would you dismiss the motion and say the Democrats have no responsibility whatsoever to listen to their voters? Or would you move forward because you can admit that the Democrats were fucked up what they did? Like, literally ask every Democrat that and put them in that position, and hopefully that'll wake more people up, or at least shame them into silence to the point that they stop running their fucking mouth and saying, oh, I wish, I'm still with her, I wish, not my president. It's like, yeah, Trump's full of shit. I hate that this is all going on, but fortunately, the person who tried to rig a primary is not in control of our government. And I don't know about you, but to me, until Trump tried to rig an election, which maybe he'll try to rig his own, because Obama and Clinton set that standard up for him, and he can just start wiretapping all he wants because of how much these fucking assholes did to try and screw him over. Trump may try to do all that because the Democrats got away with it, and that's the Democrats' problem to begin with, and it's the Democrats that need to own up to that shit now. And that's why we're in court. We are drawing the lines in the sand. We are saying, no more. This is unacceptable. And if you think that you can get away with telling the general public that we're going to use your public funds, we're going to use your time, we're going to put you through this whole charade of voting just because of we want to look like we could possibly beat the Republicans, it's insane. It's so insane. And I don't, Twitter makes me seem like I'm a total hard ass, and like that's part of the reason why I kind of like Twitter, is because I can just type shit and people like take it really seriously because they read it in isolation and don't know it's like a drunk guy who's smiling all the time that tweeted it, and I'm like laughing like, oh my god, I'm such a bitch, I cannot believe I'm tweeting this, and then I tweet it. I mean, it's like people can't necessarily catch that when they see my tweets, but that's part of like the power of Twitter, is you can just go out there and hardline on issues, sticking to the progressive causes, and then forget you even did it. I mean, especially if you're drinking while you're tweeting. I mean, hello, I fucking drunk half the time I'm tweeting. Are you kidding? I don't remember half that shit. I'm just angry and it goes out because that's where you can put it on Twitter and then people can share it. Because guess what? Lots of people probably have the same opinion as you, and those opinions aren't getting heard on mainstream media. And in fact, the mainstream media is doing everything you can to make your opinion not heard. If it's never been more clear, the Democrats, and this is the Zach, what's up? The Democrats, the mainstream media, have now made it clear that not only are they not interested in what you have to say, they're actively working against what you have to say, and they're doing everything they can to break every possible law, to extrapolate and to manipulate you as much as they possibly can. Vote blue, no matter who. Like, drink. On this note, we've got 8 minutes, and I'm going to real quick go on a withdraw from public life Hillary rant. It's going to be short because I'm basically just going to send you to Kathryn Johnstone's article. So Kathryn Johnstone is one of the most amazing writers that exists right now. I'm so obsessed with her. She's funny as shit. I literally scream laughing. I can't even tell you how many times on the bus I literally am just screaming. I'm just like cackling like an idiot because I'm high and I'm reading Kathryn Johnstone's articles, and she's one of the smartest people I've ever read, and just the perfect combination of fucking hilarious and just like incredibly intelligent and completely clued in on all the issues and completely aware of the fact that our first and most important priority right now, obviously it's really a lot of work to try and get our congresspeople and our elected officials to do anything. To get to them, we have to fight a media war first. Not we can't be fighting at all times. Obviously, we have to be fighting in all of these different ways. But our media battle is a battle that I think a lot of people are underestimating. And maybe people are seeing it now, that we're seeing how little coverage this lawsuit is getting. That I'm getting all sweaty. I'm getting so sweaty and worked up just sitting here getting riled up. It's the booze. It's making me warm. Caitlin Johnstone is amazing, and she wrote an amazing article, and I hate the word amazing, and I keep saying it over and over, and that's why I don't like it, but she wrote an article recently. I thank you to everyone who follows me on Twitter, and thank you for everyone on my Facebook, and I'm just going to real quick pause this to real slip in some gloating about y'all. I'm going to look and find that Kathryn article. It's on my Facebook. It's easier to find. When I'm reading my Twitter timeline, when I'm reading all your guys' responses to my tweets, and when I'm on my Facebook, I don't necessarily think I'm that funny. I try to be funny, but I never know, humor is really in the eye of the beholder. Now, all y'all at least appreciate the same witty, smart, dry as fuck, dark as shit, creepy when it needs to be creepy humor that I appreciate. And so I swear to God, I feel so blessed because my Twitter feed, I feel like, is the funniest feed in the world. Like, I feel like all of the funniest, progressive, smart people have, like, ended up following me at some point, or at least see my tweets at some point. And so I literally read so many responses. It's like there's probably legitimately like 20 or 30 of my friends on Twitter that I've never met before that are fucking hilarious, and they respond to my shit. And so every single tweet I put up, I'm like, I've got 10 responses, and I'm just reading them, and they're all so funny. So just to know that all of you guys that are joining me on my social media crusades, it just so happens that we're the fucking funniest, wittiest, smartest people on the internet. So keeping on with that. Now, about Hillary. So speaking of hilarious people with super good taste that are super smart, like all of us, Caitlin Johnstone's most recent article is called "Hillary Lies About North Korea and Syria Proves She Was the More Hawkish Choice." Now, so here's something we all need to remember. Hillary lies all the time. And we knew she lies all the time before the election. We knew she lies all the time during the election. They always lie. The DNC's lying in court right now. We're seeing it. It's all Hillary. That's all they do, is they lie because they know what they're doing. They don't want to tell you what they're doing, and so they tell you exactly what you want to hear because it's the most likely thing for you to believe. That's all their little mind game. And Hillary's still out there doing it because she needs to sell all of the guns and all of the Tomahawk missiles and all of the airliners and all of the things that she wanted to sell to start her wars. She's going to still try and sell them. So she's out there lying. And besides the fact that she went to a Women in Peace conference, and just seeing that, it's just like, it's legitimately a complete bastardization of peace. And it's so fucked up that these people, I'm just F-bombs left and right tonight, I'm sorry. It's just so messed up that it's not even like these are people who are kind of like wishy-washy peace advocates. These are literally the biggest warmongers on earth. These are literally the most deceptive, conniving, lying warmongers on earth that are holding conferences that say, "Oh, it's a conference about peace" on it. It's like the Clintons, and this is like purely Clintonian, the Clinton Foundation. It's not even just like fraudulently taking money. It's fraudulently taking money and using it for the exact same thing, the exact opposite thing. It's a 100% con. It's literally the exact Orwellian structure where you say one thing that's the complete what they want to hear while you are doing the absolute opposite, darkest thing that they could never possibly imagine, because you're a conniving, horrible, greedy warmonger, and that's what you do. But you do enough research and get your think tank so you know what to say, and Hillary's still out there doing it, and so we still gotta whack-a-mole every time Hillary pops her head up and says, we should have bombed. Oh yeah, Trump was right to bomb Syria, but it didn't really get much done. Doesn't matter. I was still cool with it though. I still said that we should have struck Syria that morning. Literally Syria. Fucking the Syria strikes. Hillary Clinton pops up on the news that day out of nowhere, comes out of the fucking woods to say, "Oh, we should strike Syria." What? Hours later, Trump strikes Syria. Fast forward, obviously it was a horrible decision. Bullshit false flag attack used to preface it. Everyone sees it. Everyone's seen through Hillary's bullshit by now. And she goes on this Women in Peace trip to be like, yeah, I don't think a one-off shot like that is going to do much good. Are you fucking kidding? You literally, like, the Syria strikes this one day, right? We've been bombing Syria for years and years and years and years. It's fucked up. This wasn't the first. Don't let anyone think that this was the first. This was not the first. This was when we struck that airstrike base, the Air Force base, following the chemical gas attack. This is, it's the regime change that she was shooting for, pun intended, and it's, where was I going with this? It's just based all 100% on lies, and it's all just obviously politically motivated based on what ground they want to cover in Syria for their fucking pipelines, and she's out there spilling more lies about Syria, denying the fact that it's just galling. It really blows my mind that someone can lie to your face and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to tell you something, and I'm just going to..." You don't remember from like 3-4 weeks ago, right? I said something like 3-4 weeks ago, and you totally don't remember it, so I'm going to tell you the opposite now and expect you to believe it, and expect you to trust me and pretend like we're best friends, and we've been best friends this whole time because you trust me. It's so fucked up. I don't know how they get away with it. They get away with it because they have big money behind them and they can't be put away, but So basically, Hillary's out lying about Syria more, and she's also lying about North Korea also. And the North Korea situation is a lot more complex and nuanced, and it's very much been outside of the mainstream media eyes. So there's a lot of history on the North Korean conflict and what is being proposed by China and North Korea to de-escalate the situation right now that is falling on deaf ears to Trump, that has fallen off on deaf ears to the political establishment in the United States, despite the fact that it's completely reasonable, because the deep state in the United States has always kind of wanted to pick a fight with North Korea, and so they have their lines that they run. And Hillary botched her lines so bad, she completely conflated, when she was talking about North Korea, she completely conflated the situation that she was describing with a different situation, just to explain, just to push, just to rattle the war drum, just to bang the war drum. It blows my mind. But so don't forget that Hillary's still lying. She's lying about Russian hackers. She's lying about Syria. She's lying about North Korea. She lied about Libya. She lied about Bosnia. She lies about everything, and that's not going to stop. And it's insane because, they can go out there and try to be truthful as much as they want, but we know the history, and this is what's called pathological lying. We've seen it before. Unfortunately, Hillary and Trump are friends for a reason. They both are totally comfortable lying to say whatever the customers want to hear, so they can be doing their fraud on the background, the opposite of what they're selling. It's literally, they're just the biggest snake oil salesman. That's it. It's pure snake oil. It's 100% snake oil salesman. And Caitlin Johnstone's article called "Hillary Lies About North Korea and Syria Proves She Was the More Hawkish Choice" is an absolute must-read. It's hilarious. I was screaming, laughing, and it's super, super informative about the history of Syria and more specifically of North Korea. That's got a lot of nuance and a lot of current information that's super, super helpful to know as we are out there dispelling the mainstream media's lies about North Korea, about Syria, about all of the regime change operations that they're trying. It's like, unfortunately, the media conglomeration that happened for Hillary Clinton had devastating effects on our country, but fortunately now they have unified, so we can fight them as unified mainstream media front and address them head on, because they basically are all deep state, full on behind Hillary Clinton, the Democratic establishment. Obviously Trump to some extent is kind of working his way in behind the deep state from the Republican side, but we should all be united against the deep state's agenda. We should all be united against the mainstream media's agenda that pushes lies and false narratives to push their sales of ammunition and Tomahawk missiles and war and oil and fossil fuels. We need to be much more deliberate and aggressive against the media that is trying to healthcare, every issue. It's like I only have an hour. I don't even have enough time to talk about it, but understand that the mainstream media is against us. That's literally why they exist. It's just 100% all advertising and programming to some extent is propaganda. Obviously art exists as art, but if sponsors are getting paid for you to watch a TV show, sorry, that art, your TV show, is still to some extent a commercial product, and people need to recognize that and really hard line and not go soft on anyone right now. There's no reason to say, oh, it's fine, the DNC, oh, it's not that big of a deal. No, this is a big deal. The courts don't handle issues that aren't big deals. Millions of dollars has been defrauded from people. Votes were taken away. People died because of this. People gave their lives to the Bernie Sanders campaign. And that's not an exaggeration or even being dramatic. Some of the stories about people, Bernie gave people reason to live and to go out and campaign for him. It's heartbreaking, some of the stories. And for the Democrats to say that it was all bullshit the whole time, they should have known, it's completely fucked up. And don't let it be okay. Don't let people say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Make them hardline. And if they're not hardlining, it doesn't matter if they voted for Hillary Clinton. If they voted for Hillary Clinton, all the more reason why they should be the ones taking the leadership position and saying what she did when the primary was wrong, but I still thought that she was a better candidate. Say that. Say that. And then we can move forward. But people still have their heads in the ground, and it's not okay. And don't let people be wishy-washy, because it's just, Bernie's quote, and I said it a long time ago, and it's just, to me, over, we must wage a moral and political war against the billionaire class, and that's what we do. I went over a little bit, so I gotta wrap it up now. But thanks everybody for joining me. I'm gonna try and be doing more live streams on my Twitter, so follow me on Twitter. My name is Zach Haller. And get Periscope and check out my article that I put in the headlines here, or in the comment box here, and follow Real Progressives for amazing programming. Support Real Progressives. Give some money when you can. Check out that Caitlin Johnson article, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for sticking with me. And my article got 44,000 shares already. 44,000 people have shared it just on Facebook alone. And that is one of the most amazing accomplishments I've ever made, even though I didn't set out to make it. But thank you guys for sharing my work. And I obviously put it out there for everyone to have it. So please take it and run. I thank you for all the peer review and the people who have corrected all the typos. Sorry, I was so tired all weekend doing it. There were so many typos. It was so embarrassing. But most of them are cleaned up. But I really appreciate all the support, and lift each other's voices up and help each other, and don't go wishy-washy when it comes to cutting out corruption and corporate influence, because in situations of injustice, if you are neutral, you have taken the side of the oppressor. That's really what it is. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be finishing this as quickly as I can, so if you see tweets from me later, they might be a little incoherent, but I think that's why you like me, if I'm not mistaken.